You look sharp, buddy. Welcome back to our show, and thank you for being here.
It's nice to be here and not in my office at home via Zoom.
Yeah, Zooming, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have a live audience. It's the best. You have a big weekend coming up because you just finished a run of cabaret.
That's right, yeah.
In London. I have a photo of you in cabaret. Look at you.
Yeah.
Congrats on this.
That is me under there somewhere, I think. Yeah.
You were nominated for an Olivier Award on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Do you know what? This looks like a sort of bejeweled haute couture skeleton, but actually I played the MC in cabaret, and I played it as a kid when I was at school, and so it's always been one of those lifelong dreams, and the whole show was a dream. So I'm thrilled that it's the sort of cherry on top of the.
I mean, that was fun.
Cake. Well,
yeah, cherry on top
tree.
of it. Yeah,
that's one of those.
Cherry
things.
on top. Yeah, but the cabaret is it's a little dark.
It's pretty dark.
Yeah, your kids probably didn't see it, did they?
Well, my kids are like 5 and 4, and I took them to the theatre recently to see Frozen, which they loved.
Now, Frozen's fantastic.
Fantastic. And then, they're sort of beginning to understand that I'm an actor, and I said, so, Daddy's doing a play and doing a musical too, and do you want to come and see the theatre? And they came and they saw that scary costume, and that terrified them. And so I sort of showed them the stage, and I kind of, sang a little song for them, and they were like, that's great, Dad, but it's not Let It Go.
No, it's not Let It Go. No, it'll never be Let It Go.
And more depressing is that, the songs from cabaret are like, the song that I was listening on repeat, learning it was like, money makes the world go away, which is like, but it's like a really dark sort of take on that. And so my kids then were like, money makes the world, no,
let's put on Frozen, That's much better. Or Frozen 2, whatever you want,
exactly.
Your first acting role, is this correct? Was it Oliver?
Yeah. Yes, gosh, you've done good research.
I did a little research.
Yeah.
And who did you play in Oliver? Oliver?
It's still actually quite painful.
Everyone has
and the other thing in Oliver is you're either Oliver or you're Dodger or you're one of the gang. There are hundreds of children's parts, but I had the famous part of the book boy, who's not in the gang, isn't Oliver. Has one line.
Yeah, the book boy. Oh my God, we love the book boy. Oh my God, yes. That's our favorite character.
The favorite character. I had one line, and it went like this: "Books you ordered from the bookseller, sir, to come on."
Wow, nailed it. That's how you do it.
But it was a big deal for me, and it was at the London Palladium, which was like a huge theatre in London. And the first night that I went and I delivered my line. And then I just walked very, very slowly off. Took about sort of 3 minutes, sort of royal way.
Yeah,
the director was like, "Mate, this is not you're not Oliver, you're not Dodger.
No, you're gonna break.
You're gonna head off the stage.
Yeah, people are gonna remember the bookseller kid. Yeah, here's your book, sir.
Yeah.
One of those. Just slowly walk out. But when you were first starting out, you had some pretty famous roommates.
True.
In LA.
It's been interesting. So about, I don't know, what was it, 15 years ago, when there's this thing that in England, in the winter, it rains a lot, and in LA, it's really sunny, and there's this thing called pilot season.
Yes.
And so all these kind of out-of-work English actors go over to LA to try and get work, which we tend not to get, but what we would do is just, be in the sunshine and then sort of call home and tell our families that we were working incredibly hard. But it meant that there was
it's sunny out in LA.
It's sunny out in LA. But there was this group of us, and some of us lived together, some of us didn't, and but we would always go and hang out and play, and none of us had got jobs, and then someone would get a job and sort of go stratospheric, and then the rest of us would sit back and
what do we do with our lives? Yeah, play ping pong.
A lot of ping pong.
These would be like Andrew Garfield.
Andrew, very good at ping pong. Fierce ping pong player, Garfield.
Is he really?
Garf is, yeah, and I just remember that he did once come... when you play tennis and someone comes with, a bag,
yes,
and maybe with 2 rackets?
Yeah.
I just remember once playing with Andrew, and he turned up with a ping pong bat in a case. And I was like, wow.
No, we don't play.
I was like, he is not messing around here. But he's a very good ping pong player.
How's Robert Pattinson?
Rob, I didn't play ping pong with. Jamie Dornan, I played ping pong with. He's
Jamie Dornan, too? I mean, this is a house of studs. I mean, what is going on?
But it's funny because they've been... there was this thing I read the other day because Jamie and and Rob have been promoting things recently. They were being asked about this, and I read something about like how Jamie was sort of bemoaning the fact like, how stressful it was going to a club with Rob because everyone would look at Rob and no one would look at him. I was like, dude,
you're Jamie.
Try being me, man. He was like Jamie, face of Calvin Klein, like billboards in New York, sort of six-pack. And I was like, dude,
please,
not.
Give me a break.
Cry me a river.
Yeah. I read something that Robert Pattinson was saying because he was promoting the Batman, and he was saying he would go to auditions, and sometimes you're in the audition and there's someone in the room ahead of you auditioning, and either get applause or get a big reaction, and it makes you nervous because you're like, I got to follow that, and the door would open and you would come out. And he'd be like, oh, wow, you killed it again, buddy. Congrats.
He's not doing too badly, is he?
No, he's not. He's doing okay.
The thing about Rob, and it was interesting, because this whole bunch of us, and there was Charlie Cox, Tommy Sturridge, like a load of us who all have remained really good buddies. But each of us had our own kind of audition technique. And Rob and Tom's was always like, whatever the scene appears to be on the page, you do the complete opposite. And so I'd be sitting outside, and I thought it was a quiet, intimate scene, and I'd just hear sort of shrieks inside the room, and sort of roll. And it was always, we were basically all desperately trying to find our way to, like,
of course,
stand out from the crowd.
And he just opened the door and be like, I'm not going to get that one.
I'm going to get that one. But good shrieks.
Yeah, good shrieks, and tried. I want to talk about the new film, Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Can I quickly just tell one more story? Because when we made Fantastic Beasts, it was at the same studio that Rob was making Batman.
Oh, yeah.
And we shared a gym, because my character and my body is so buff. Anyway, one day I went to the gym, and I walked in, and there was this guy with, like, a high ponytail, massive, doing the most extraordinary stunts I've ever seen with his stunt director. And it was that slightly embarrassing thing when you're a skinny runt and you go into a gym, there's someone... Hey, this is the same gym that, like, Jason Momoa goes to. You're quite used to being...
I would walk the opposite way, yeah.
And I walk in, and there's this guy goes, hi, and I go, hi, and then I just sort of sit there watching him do these incredible things while I sort of, weekly do a sit-up in the corner. Anyway, after
like waving a wand in the corner.
That's good. Got to get my wand on.
You're like, all right, I'm good.
It was that. Anyway, after like 40 minutes of doing this, I sort of go, not 40 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I sort of scuttle off, and as I'm going, this guy goes, bye, Eddie. And I look back, and it was Rob. And he was so physically changed, and he had a man bun, and what I'd seen him do was so dumbfounding that I was like, he completely transformed himself. I felt very lucky to see him, because Batman is so brilliant, and his work in it. So I felt like really lucky to see it, like that his commitment early.
Isn't that fun to see? I like seeing my friends at work.
This was at 5 in the morning. His like sort of, I was doing my wand lifting, but he was doing ferocious, like hardcore fights.
He went for it. Yeah, he did look different.
It was very impressive.
Well, speaking of impressive, there's another Fantastic Beast, The Secrets of Dumbledore. I love watching you in any role that you play. You always dive right in. But for this third installment, it's a giant film. It's a giant deal. Is there anything you could say about it, or because I don't want to give away secrets?
Do you know what I love about this one is it feels like it's a sort of wizarding heist movie. Yeah. It's kind of like Ocean's 11,
but for young, family,
set in a wizarding world.
Yes,
love
that. I love that. Yes,
is that a way to try and?
That's a perfect way to tell. Yeah,
and Jude Law, who plays Dumbledore, is basically George Clooney, and I'm Brad Pitt.
And that's basically So he's George, you're Brad, and that's but it's for family.
The similarity.
Yes, exactly right.
Aspirational.
You know what? I was going to ask you, every time you're here, I don't mean to bother you, don't have to do anything, but you always either bring me something from the set that you've learned, or a magic trick you showed me once, or something you had to physically do in the movie. Do you have any embarrassing things?
It's worse than that, but because I feel that on the first movie, they made me do a mating dance with basically a rhino. And then
Yeah, that was
I
great.
came and taught it to you.
Oh, please.
Which was wonderful to be able to throw the humiliation onto you. And I feel like
what I'm
now
built for.
in each of these movies, they literally write something to humiliate me. And,
Knowing that-
and when I read it, I go, that's horrendous, but great, because I get to teach it to Jimmy.
Okay, so what did you do this movie?
So in this movie, there are these little critters called manticores, and they kind of look like sweet little lobsters, but they're actually terrifying. And in order to kind of calm these little manticores, I have to sort of adopt their movement. So can I teach it to you?
Yeah, we have to. It's a tradition. It's a tradition now at this point, yeah.
I feel like last time we did this, you split your pants. or I did.
Yeah, I did.
So just we might need to prep your trousers.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
My trousers are pretty prepped. Yeah, okay.
Ready? Okay.
All right.
So you start with a lunge.
Do something that is really fast.
Do that.
Do it again. Yeah.
Just start
That
tall.
was
Start tall. They're not suspecting it, and then a lunge.
All right, yeah, okay.
Okay, this is good. Okay. And now once you're down here,
Yeah.
and this is why I was in the gym, because you need, those those
core is
glutes,
all core right
those
now,
glutes
yeah.
and core. So you then gently move that. Can you do that? Keep going, Jim.
Don't look. All right, don't do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
And now you have to start moving this way.
I'm going to give you an obscure fact about your character or the wizarding world, universe in general. And you have to tell me if you think that statement is true or false. It might get a little tricky.
Yeah.
Because your character has a pretty wild backstory. Are you ready for this?
I am. Go for it.
Okay. American wizard, and you guys can help, or maybe not. Up to you. American wizards use currency known as Dragons and Sprinks.
Oh, guys, you were so helpful. Thank you. False.
That is true, actually. I sold Sprinks funny on purpose.
But it was such confidence
I
from
know,
the
no,
audience.
I was like, Sprinks. Yeah, I said that, but that actually is true. Dragons and Sprinks, American wizards. There you go. Your character, Newt Scamander, once had a relationship with a hippogriff named Buckbeak.
A relationship. Sounding all kinds of dodgy.
Yeah, a relationship. It could be
well, I remember
platonic.
that Newt's mum bred and raised hippogriffs, so I'm going to go with true.
False. We know. So far, you're doing great.
It's like a really cruel audience.
No, they're playing with this. It's really good. I love this. Thank you, guys. I love this. All right, a new word was created for the Fantastic Beasts movie, Shrinklenor, which is a magical ability to change size to fit into small spaces.
No, and I love that I know this because there was a word called Koranaptixik.
That's correct.
Which I'm
That's correct. That's not a buzzer. That's a correct. That is exactly right. How do you pronounce it?
Koranaptixik. I love that you
Koranaptixik.
just told me that it was invented because I thought it was a real word.
Yeah. No, it was invented. Yeah, just for your. Here we go. Newt was expelled from Hogwarts for using a spell that turned his professor's hands into crab claws.
Newt was expelled from Hogwarts, but as far as I'm aware, not from my sort of Karate Kid dance.
That is correct. False. Yeah, that is correct. Yes, you're right. He was not expelled for that reason. No. Newt Scamander's middle name is Fido.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah.
Fido Artemis.
I like that. Newt is actually able to temporarily transform himself into a fantastic beast known as Snardvark.
Desperate to be yes, but can we suggest that? for Fantastic Beasts 4.
Yeah, you're correct.
The great thing about these movies is that magic. You can do anything.
It's all magic. It's all magic. All right, this is good. You're doing great. You're back. You're
Thanks,
back.
man. Back in the room.
Here we go. Which of the following beasts is not featured in Newt's book? Glumbumble, Nogtail, Niffler, Googengoggle, Chisperfle.
You know when the cameraman is laughing.
I don't know which one he's laughing at, but yeah.
The Googengoggle, but I'm desperate.
That is correct. Googengoggle is not true. This guy knows his stuff.